To paint the edge or not to paint the edge? To refine the edge? What do I do? If you're wondering what to do with your gallery wrapped canvas edge, then stick around. We're going to talk this right here. I feel like this is one of those things where everybody's going to have their own opinion, and maybe there's not actually one right answer to this. But as I was doing some research, just to give myself a little bit of reassurance, I did some research to find out, you know, what should I do with the edge of my canvas? And maybe that's what you're doing right now. Well, I decided and came up with, through some of my research, that painting a black edge on my canvases, for gallery wrapped canvases especially, is the way to go. In the past, I have done paintings and thinking, I need to extend my painting and work on those sides and focus on my energy on that. However, when you look at a piece, it's really the front of the piece that is supposed to be the piece. And then the edge is just, you know, I don't know. I think I'm still fighting myself with this. It's still an inner battle. But I do think that making your edge, whichever way to decide to go, if you want to spend the effort, you know, painting the sides, painstakingly figuring out what the edge is going to look like, okay. For me though, I think the front of my canvas is what's most important. So I'm going to put all that important stuff there. And then I'm going to go with a black edge and do that. So it's one of those things where you might have a strong opinion than the other, but I want to tell you a little quick story about why I think that this is the way to go. At least do something with it. So back when I first started, I wasn't sure what to do and I didn't really research that much, and I just kind of went with what I thought was right. So with a gallery wrapped canvas, you have a good amount of surface to deal with that's on the sides that people will see when it's on your wall if you don't frame it. So I was thinking, okay, I guess I need to extend my painting onto the sides. But it doesn't seem right to spend so much effort on that when it might not be seen really. So I decided to just extend it so that it's not just white and so that I have at least some kind of edge. But what I didn't do, because I thought, well, nobody's going to really see the bottom or the top. And so I didn't paint the bottom or top, and I just kind of left them bare. And the problem was that once somebody purchased a piece, they wanted to frame it. And so they were going to get a floating frame. However, the bottom of the painting was left kind of rough, and as was the top. And they didn't like the look of that with the floating frame, because the floating frame, you can see your edge. And so for them, they decided to go with a different kind of frame. So I felt a little bit bad. And so from now on, I'm definitely doing up a nice edge. And so for me, the thing that makes the most sense is that what you're painting here is the main thing. This is your painting. This is my composition and everything. So for me, it makes sense to paint a black edge. But kudos to you if you want to paint and spend all the time painting on the side when it might not really be seen. Go for it. But I'm definitely not going to leave bare edges from going forward, and I haven't been. So this is a piece I did a while ago that I painted the edge, and the main subject is on the front. That's the main painting, that's the main thing. And then if somebody were to purchase this and get it a floating frame, they're not gonna have any issues because I've painted all of the edges. Okay, so all you need is the painting. Now normally I wait till the very end to do this, not the beginning, but just so that I have one to show you. I don't have a finished painting to work on, and I think that this is a really good edge to show because of the color that's visible. I like to have this. This isn't a necessary piece of equipment, but it's something that I like to have for when I do something to raise your piece when you're working on either the edges or so they're not touching directly onto the table. When I go to varnish this, once it's all finished, everything's dry, if I put it directly on the table, it might kind of get glued to the table, and I don't want that. So that gives me that elevation I need. So you're gonna need something to put the paint in and the paint, just a basics Mars Black here. This is a 3/4 inch angle brush. This is my favorite thing to use to apply it. And just a little bit of water. I always have a rag on hand as well. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to ready my brush by waking it up. Wake up, little brush. Dab it off, and then get my paint, get into the paint. I'm brushing from both sides to keep my edge nice and straight. And I'm probably going to want some more water in with it so that it's a little bit more fluid. That just makes it easier to work with when you're trying to make a straight edge on something. If you're noticing it's going a little bubbly or not quite, it's too textured looking, it might be that you're not using the right amount of water. So just try a little bit more water. So this is going to help for that as well, this technique. Okay, so I think that's good. Ready to go. You don't want it dripping at all. You don't want to have a drippy edge. Let's move the paint out of the way so we can see here. All right, so I start at the top and I secure my finger and hand along the side here to give some stability to my strokes. I'm going to start at the edge and nearing the very tip of it, make a mark. Now, my other hand is securing below, so we don't want all this movement happening. If you can keep it steady, it's going to be better. I like to try to make this line first, just holding it still. It gets a little tricky once you get to the end and your hand doesn't have anywhere to rest anymore, so you can, I just kind of, it's still resting a bit, just not the base of my hand. Because this is 3/4 inch, it helps me to get more length with each stroke. Can always go over a little bit. Don't recommend talking while doing this. No distractions. I would personally rather leave a little bit of edge so that it's not overlapping onto the front. So from there, I get more paint, and just this part is a lot less stressful. You're just using the brush one way and then the other direction to make sure that you've filled in all the little holes. All the color is filled in. It's going to give us a nice professional look. And when I go to the side here, I want to go all the way around the edge. And then I don't care if it's messy on the back. Let me just keep going. And I don't want any texture. I want a nice smooth edge. So I'm just painting over top, brushing back and forth. One direction, then the other, so I don't have any texture lines showing. Once you get to this kind of corner, you want to fill that in. So I kind of tuck some paint into the crevice. Le crevasse, I don't know. Okay, now once you're going to keep going around just like that. And once you get to the last edge, you either want to wait because you're going to have wet edges all around. So you're not going to be able to hold this the same way. So do some edges, let things dry, and then finish your edges. Or if it's a small enough piece, like when I'm just doing like a little 4x4, I can just kind of hold it in my hand and do the edging. But a larger piece, you're going to want to wait till things really set. Because if you are impatient, you're going to flip the canvas around. It's going to get messed up. You might get paint, black paint, where you don't want it to be, all of that stuff. So you're just breathing very carefully, almost like if someone were, if you're shooting at a target, if you're, you know, it just reminds me of when I was doing archery or something in school. You just had to be very And then you'd like relax, and then that's when it happens. You kind of just, sometimes I paint this in, I color it in. Sometimes I paint this in as I go, which is fine too. And now you can see why it's good to paint over your edge when you're painting the front. Paint over the edge with whatever color you're choosing so we don't have any white gaps kind of showing. That got a little messy there. It's okay. This particular piece, it's going to work just fine because it's a little Highland animal piece. It'll blend in just okay. So just a little bit of water to paint, just to thin it out enough that it's easy to work with, and it's going to fill in my gaps without having to go over too many times. Or you might not even have to go over once. More than once. Right to the edge. The other day I saw someone use a sponge to do this, and they just took a sponge and went down, and I was like, what? I'm not brave enough to do that at this point. But that could be something worth trying. Maybe I should practice that with when I'm doing the front part of my painting, my wash. Maybe I should try that. Because that sounds like it's faster. And hey, this shouldn't have to take forever to paint your edge of your painting. Okay, so we have two edges from the front. You don't really see it, but then from the sides, you're gonna see a nice edge just like that. So we'll finish that up and meet you at the end. So, what are you going to do with the edge of your canvas? Let us know in the comments, and if you have any better ideas, I'd love to hear them. I'm always up for making a more efficient way to complete my pieces, so thank you so much. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell because you don't want to miss a thing. All right, see you next time. Have a great week. Bye now.